Hi, my name is Kevin Thompson. I'm a Baylor student in LDS 1301 Leadership, and so I was assigned a project to do describing my own personal leadership philosophy, where I talk about it, go over it, tell some influences that brought me into this position in my own life. So, my own personal leadership philosophy is just simply the fact that anyone has the potential to lead. It's not hard, but it relates to a growth versus fixed mindset. In a fixed mindset, someone thinks that you are not able to develop yourself into learning more or becoming changing your innate traits that you were born with. Whereas in a growth mindset, people believe that you can change the things you're born with and become a different person, grow into a better position in life, and overall change your entire personality and possibly become a better leader. So that's why I believe anyone can lead. It's also a factor of if you are assigned a role of leadership or you are going to emerge as a leader. In assigned leadership, you're just given this position, you're told you're doing this, you got A, B, C, D things to do. Whereas an emerging leader, it typically comes from a smaller group. Maybe no one's assigned a leader, or there's a bad leader in charge, and someone takes over and is like, okay, no, we need to do it this way. In that case, that emergent leader would have a situational skill that they can help. So, like, for example, in high school, I was really bad at history, but I could do math. So I found one of my best friends, who was good at history, not so great at calculus, and we helped each other. We both ended up doing great in both the classes. It all worked out. So there's no like specific trait that helps people do better than others, but there are some things, but like your traits that you do have affects how you do lead. So personally, my traits, or my strengths as Baylor calls them, whenever we took this test at the beginning of the year, were a strategic person, which means I like to have all of my activities planned out. I like to have I like to be told I'm doing this at pretty much an itinerary is like what I like to have. I need that. I like to be a deliberator. I like to know who I'm working with and be able to collaborate with them a lot. I like to know the person that I'm working with very well, and which kind of brings me into my position as a relator, which means that I can get to know like a lot of people, but I'm very selective with who I enjoy getting to know and who I really want to continue myself with, because I like to develop them as a person, which brings me to my fourth, develop her. I like to get to know them in a personal way, bringing them out of their shell and learn from them, learn their history, learn what they're about, which brings me to my process as a learner in my number five, which I like to know how they like the under processes of life, what works. I don't like to just know the final product, where you are now. I like to know your history. So all of these together, they kind of affect how I personally lead and how I socially interact with people, which affects how I do lead. So for example, in my high school, my freshman and sophomore year, I was in a huge group called Stuco, and it was just of like probably like 500 people. It was way too many. I couldn't function in it. It was too many for me. And eventually, in my junior and senior year, I was chosen to participate in what at my high school was called leadership, which in this case was pretty much a smaller scale Stuco. It was selective of 60 people. We So this was already narrowing it down into smaller groups of people. I could interact with people better, and this was the people that stepped out of their shells and showed that they want to lead, that they can lead. Anybody could have done that, but only a certain number of people did. Only 60 people did do that. But all of the other people have the potential to do the same thing. It's just the smaller groups that really wanted to stepped out of their shell and went for it. And then in these smaller groups, we got to build stronger relationships among each other. We got to learn more about each other, grow with each other, and learn how to function. We all worked better as smaller groups. I've personally felt myself working so much better with this group of people. And so, yeah, that's basically my leadership philosophy. Anybody can step forward and become a leader, but it's just the people that choose that they want to that do succeed and become the best leader that they can be.